Have you ever used electronic devices as babysitters? I think we're all probably guilty of it just a little bit, right? Well, it's because they work great. But there's a right time for electronics and there's a wrong time. Hi, I'm Liz Weaver of Learning Success. I put this video series together to help parents help their children get the most out of electronics without all of the pitfalls. This video covers how to safely implement devices into your child's day. Doing this right is especially important for struggling learners to make sure those devices don't cause more trouble. If this video helps you, please make sure to subscribe and share it so it gets out to more parents who need it just like you. Let's watch.
When my son was only 2 years old, I found myself turning on the TV to allow myself to complete tasks around the house. That was my way of keeping my son occupied. And it became a problem because when it was time to leave the house, he would have these major meltdowns. So at that time, I decided to dig a bit more into the research around screens and children. And there was a lot of information about the detrimental effects of screens, how it can be addictive and how it can have neurological effects.
Just making sure that if they're having trouble regulating their emotions, that screen time is not used to do that. So if a kid's having a hard time with getting rid of the screen, or they really want it, do not use the screen as a way to let themselves calm down, because they're not then applying those skills, having to regulate their own emotions in the moment. And now we're missing an opportunity for them to teach themselves how to regulate their emotions. So I wouldn't want you to give them the screen before they actually regulate their emotions.
Screens are everywhere. So where do we begin? How do we think differently about when we use screens, especially with young children? So there are 3 times when we should not be using screens when we're interacting with young children. The first is when we're trying to help a child remain calm. So they might be playing or interacting, and we sort of get that sense that this is going to go nowhere good fast. And we want to keep it from escalating or getting out of control. We want children to remain calm. That's the first time we don't want to use a screen.
It's not just a matter of plug it and be done.
The second is when we've sort of missed that window of keeping it all reined in, and the child sort of already flipped their lid and things have already gotten a little bit out of control. So in that instance where you find yourself wanting to bring the child back to what we call a more neutral state, well, that's also a time that we don't want to use screen.
After she would be on the iPad for a while, then she would get this attitude, and I would say, all right, it's time to clean up your toys, and she'd get in a huff, and she just acted different than her regular self. And I noticed that she acted that way when she had been on the screen for a while.
We want children to behave. We want them to go with the flow, do what we need them to do, make a good choice, and we need them to do it kind of like right now. And you're looking at me like, what? Those are the best times to use screens. Those are the most effective. I can keep a child calm, I can get them back to calm, and I can keep them really compliant, really sort of cooperative, if you will. Well, this is the downside. Much of those things that we want from children fall under this umbrella of what we call self-regulation. Basically, it's the ability to stop, think, and then act.
It requires constant involvement, just like teaching a child to walk or crawl or eat on their own without spilling their food everywhere, right? The same concept applies.
And wouldn't it be lovely if the children you were working with or the children that you're serving were able to stop, think, and then act? To be honest, it takes decades for us as humans to learn that as a skill. And even if it was something that we could develop more quickly, we actually learn how to stop, think, and then act through our interaction with other humans.
What happens in a lot of the social media platforms and in a lot of different games is that it creates a pseudo relationship. So it feels good as if we're connecting with someone or something, but it lacks the human qualities of actually connecting with a person, or with your child, there's just so much more that can be received, obviously, from physical and connection rather than through the screen. So being mindful that it might feel like you're really connecting with someone, but it's not the real deal.
It also causes loneliness. Children being isolated to a device, being entertained by that device all throughout the day, that being what gives them attention and keeps them occupied. We're creating loneliness in our children. They are no longer coming to us for as much. And as a mom who is with their kids all day, some of that is a positive, but I think if you really thought about it, you realize it's more of a negative thing.
And so the screen is actually getting in the way of us being able to, as a tiny human, be able to process these big emotions, be able to notice that I'm getting a little bit amped up and maybe what I can do instead. And then how do I make a good choice? How do I delay gratification? How do I keep those impulses at bay? These skills are things that children learn only through their interactions with other humans. And so they really need you as a guide on the side to help them process these big emotions, notice when they're happening, know what to do instead of sort of acting out or hiding under the table or running off.
Devices are great for education, but they can also cause problems for education. Using them properly is a bit of a minefield for parents. If your child is already struggling in education, it's even worse. If that's your child, then you can improve their learning skills with the Learning Success System, a simple step-by-step system for helping your child excel in school. You can get a free trial today by clicking the link above.
So there are 3 things you can do when children are experiencing big emotions, or they're getting ready to have a big emotion, or you're not feeling like they're being all that cooperative. How can you help keep them calm, get them calm, and get them sort of on the same page with you without the use of screens? So there's 3 suggestions. The first is we want to use our words wisely. When children begin to escalate, or once they have escalated, or when we want them to follow our agenda, we do a lot of talking. And what children need us to do is maybe even go silent. So we need to reduce the directions and the corrections.
With children's meltdowns is to make sure that you are not matching the anger with anger. Something that some parents don't know is that children don't have the ability to self-regulate until they get older and are taught how to self-regulate. If you think about it, sometimes some adults don't even know how to self-regulate. But let's go back and think about when children are infants. What do parents or caregivers do when a child is an infant and the infant is crying? We pick up the infant, or we feed the infant, or we change the infant's diaper, or we play and make eye contact and have fun. So we do things to help the child self-regulate. That is what we need to do with our little bit older children that are having struggles with meltdowns. We as the parents need to be the calm presence for the child who's having the meltdown. If we get angry, we're just going to make the situation worse.
Also want to soothe their nervous system. You want to keep them calm, right? You want to get them back to calm. Well, the best way that we can do that is really through compassion. Also not something that's easy in the middle of that meltdown or that storm, but compassion says to the child, I understand this is a big emotion. I understand that you don't know what to do, and I'm here to help you. I'm here to offer a lifeline. Again, it's like the last thing you want to do, but it's the thing that the child needs most.
So it's important that we remain calm. This happened often in the mornings with my own child. We would be getting ready for school, and he's, one of those slow kids. Takes him a long time to wake up and a long time to get moving. But what I noticed is that the more I got angry with him and frustrated, the slower he went. So what I found worked better is that when I can remain calm and I can encourage him, then he was able to get moving in the morning. So what parents can do is make sure, no matter what it takes, for the parent to always remain calm, no matter how big of a meltdown the child is having. If we get angry, the meltdown will be worse.
So we decided to cut the screen altogether initially, to allow my son to just forget about it. So, of course, in the beginning, we had a lot of tears, but it didn't take long for him to completely forget about it. And we were able to have easier morning routines. We would get up, have breakfast, play around the house for a bit, and then head out and spend the day outside.
Thing that you can do other than offer a screen. Really reduce the number of stressors or inputs to their body. So you might say, okay, I've already gone quiet. Why isn't that enough? Well, sometimes there's so many things that are bombarding the child's system that they get escalated that we don't even know what it is. So notice if you've got a TV going on in the background, if you've got people talking really loud, if there's anything you can do to remove visual clutter. You want to think about, how can I reduce the inputs so that the child can stay calm or return to calm, or think about what is the best action to take right now versus the sort of misbehavior that's really easy to do.
Use empathy. Empathy is so important, not for just children, but for all people in general. The thing about empathy is that when we show empathy, we're actually saying, I get how you feel. We are saying, what you feel makes sense to me. And I think that's what almost everyone really wants, no matter if it's from our children or from an adult peer. So for children who are having meltdowns, as the parent, we want to show empathy. We want to let the child know that what they are experiencing makes a lot of sense to us, even if it doesn't make sense to us.
We know it's inevitable that children will be exposed to screens, but we also know that the more they're exposed to screens, the less they experience well-being, the less they have time for other really important activities like play. So we need to be more purposeful in and when we use screens with young children. And there are at least 3 times we don't want to use screens: when we're trying to keep kids calm, when we're trying to get them back to calm, and when we are thinking about, how could you be more cooperative in this instance? Instead, we use our words wisely, we go silent, we aim to soothe the nervous system in some way to let them know that you're there to offer a lifeline with compassion. And then we look around us and go, how else can I reduce the input? Are there other demands? Is there visual clutter? Is there auditory that doesn't need to be on right now, so that I can restore the child to a place where they can stop, think, and then act?
I hope you now have a clearer picture of when and how it's safe to let your child use devices. Post in the comments and let us know what strategies you are going to use. And if your child needs to do better in school, then start the Learning Success System today. In no time, you'll see your child begin to love learning. Once that happens, grades will soar. They may even pass their peers. Just click the link in the description to get your free trial today.